Next game we're talking about, Dolan, is Colorado at UCF, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. This is a really good barometer game for Colorado, in my opinion, because it's really kind of difficult to gauge just how good Colorado is this year. They have 3 wins. They're 3-1 in the season, but their 3 wins have come against teams that either aren't in the FBS or aren't in the top 80 of PFF's power rankings in North Dakota State, Colorado State, who's 108th in the PFF power rankings, and Baylor, who's 83rd. And Colorado needed a miracle Hail Mary to beat them in that one. And Colorado's one loss came to Nebraska, who's 57th in that power ranking, and Nebraska beat the Buffaloes by 18 points in that game. Now, Colorado has improved some of its biggest issues defensively that we'll get into in just a second, and they have 2 of the best players in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, but they still have significant questions on that offensive line right now that could hold them back from being real Big 12 contenders. But this would be a good game against UCF, who's currently number 49 in our power rankings. Kind of just show, okay, where is Colorado in the Big 12? Are they one of the worst teams, or are they middle of the pack? Or if they really beat UCF pretty soundly, are they maybe one of the Big 12 contenders right now?
I think that's the case for both these teams. I know this is, I think, the one game without a ranked team that we're doing. This is an incredibly fun game. The contrast in style, what you have with Colorado and the star power, what they did last week, and I thought, I get that it's a miracle. Hail Marys don't happen often unless you throw it to an FAU great and LeJohntay Wester. But look, they got a little resilience to them all of a sudden. I kind of like it. Look, they got beat up at Nebraska. They did. Came back against Colorado State, and after last year's game and the rivalry and all the trash talking and all of that, came out and just shut down Colorado State, just beat them soundly, right? It was 28-9, I think it was.
Yes.
And then this game, there were haymakers thrown back and forth in this game all day. Sawyer Robertson was really good for Baylor with Daquan Finn out. They returned a kickoff for a touchdown. They're making diving catches in the end zone. Then Travis Hunter and Shedeur are willing them to touchdowns, and Wester with the Hail Mary. And it came down to the very last yard with Travis Hunter forcing the fumble to win the game. But I think actually what we've seen the last 2 games, and I think I want to go back to the Nebraska game too, the second half. They didn't give up a point in the second half of that game. They scored all 28 points Nebraska scored in the first half. In the second half of that game, Nebraska didn't score. And we saw, how many times last year did we see Colorado struggling, and then the floodgates open, they lose by 40, right? We're not seeing that. And I know you go, okay, well, keep in mind, 2 years ago, worst team in the Power 5. Last year, trying to figure it out, right, with just these guys, some of these talented guys we have, but nothing in the trenches. Now we're starting to find some resilience and some physicality. I've told you, they went in the portal this year. It was very targeted. They wanted guys in that front 7 who will play physical, or especially in run defense, because they were 122nd in run defense grade last year, okay? This year, they're up to 15th. The improvement on the defensive line, and especially at linebacker, 3rd best run D grade from their linebackers in the country.
That's insane.
Up into the top 40 in EPA per rush allowed. I think that was bottom 10 last year. 14th in run stops. And look, they do need to get better at stopping the quarterback running, and that's a big thing with KJ Jefferson in this game, right? I know RJ Harvey's the star for UCF right now. He's got, I think, 450 rushing yards in 3 games. RJ Harvey's really good. Gus Malzahn's a great schemer when it comes to this run D, but I really think what I've seen in this Colorado defense, especially at linebacker, Levante Bentley, who came back from last year, his run D grade, where is it here? I think it's up almost 40 points. It's up to 85. I think it's 85.7 his run D grade is up to. And they moved Nakai Hill-Green into the starting lineup over Trevor Woods after the North Dakota State game. Actually, if you take out that North Dakota State game, their linebackers are number 1 in run defense. They are just filling gaps. They're trailing each other. It's just they're playing like really good, basic, fundamentally sound football, especially at linebacker. The D-line, there's not one star guy there. They're playing as a really good unit. The last 11 quarters, okay, plus that overtime against Baylor, they've given up 2 explosive runs to running backs in the last 11 quarters. Quarterbacks, a little more of an issue. Sawyer Robertson beat him with a couple quarterback draws. There was a long touchdown, like a 40-yard touchdown. They got to work on the quarterback thing and some read option, more complicated stuff. But as far as just filling gaps and stopping straight handoffs, they're actually playing really, really well. And now this is a barometer because UCF is leading the nation in rushing yards per game.
Yeah.
This is a whole different thing. But also, TCU, for as much as UCF ran for like 290 yards on TCU, but it was at like 5 yards a carry flat. It's high volume, right?
Yeah.
TCU did a pretty nice job not giving up too many explosive runs. They were ahead big in that game, and KJ Jefferson brought them back. But I think there is a blueprint here where you go, okay, this is the test game now. Okay, we saw Colorado State. We saw Baylor. Colorado State had some yards, but it was on like 2 big runs, and one of them was a wildcat. They need to work on quarterback run.
Yeah.
That's going to – I think actually, as much as Harvey's the star of the UCF offense, KJ Jefferson's the important part.
Yeah.
If KJ
He's
Jefferson –
the X factor,
he hasn't been running a ton the first – like he hasn't really popped off. I think he's got 150 or 160 rushing yards without sacks through – I always have to throw that in there. I hate that. I always have to throw that in. But he hasn't really exploded on the run side yet. He had a great second half throwing the ball against TCU. But I'm kind of waiting on KJ Jefferson to really explode. But if he doesn't, and UCF's handing the ball off a lot, or if Colorado can find their way ahead, UCF will stick with the run game. But if you know they're handing off, Colorado on straight handoffs has been really good. I'm not exaggerating. I'm just telling you what I see on tape. They made the switch at linebacker. They got better defensive linemen this year. And the run defense is a lot better. They have a shot in this game if their run defense plays the way it's played the last 3 games.
It honestly does. And yeah, we're kind of waiting on the KJ Jefferson rushing breakout because when he was at Arkansas, he was one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the entire country. So we're still kind of waiting on that. This might be the game, honestly, for him to show that. Dawn, you kind of illustrated right there how Colorado significantly improved their physicality defensively. There are still issues with their physicality offensively. And that's kind of the big one of this one is, can Colorado's offensive line hold up just enough for Shedeur Sanders and those weapons to win downfield? Right now this year, the Buffaloes have allowed a pressure on 35.7% of their dropbacks. It's the 8th worst mark among Power 4 schools. Their 17 sacks allowed are tied for 4th most in the country. But Shedeur Sanders, Dawn, really, when he's kept clean, their passing attack is one of the most explosive in college football. Right now this year, he has a 93.1 PFF grade when he's kept clean. That's 3rd among all quarterbacks in college football. His best trait is his ability to read and dissect a defense. And when you give him time, he's able to do that. But when you don't give him time, he's running for his life back there. And when he's able to read and dissect the defense, not only is he elite at that, he's got a really good group of pass catchers as well, that one of them is bound to get open no matter who is out there. So I really think that the offensive line struggles have kind of nerfed that attribute from him. Because like I said, if he's not able to sit back there and find the open receivers, then you take away his best attribute and all of a sudden, you're kind of lost offensively. I will say, though, UCF has been kind of below average in terms of getting after the quarterback this year. Right now, the Knights are 77th in pressure rate at 31.1% and only 2 sacks on the entire season, which is the fewest among Power 4 defenses right now. Now, they don't blitz that much. They're 106th in the country in blitz rate, and they're 76th in the country in stunt rate. So really, it's on Colorado's offensive line. Hey, one-on-one, they're not going to try to fool you with anything. Just win your matchup one-on-one. That's the key to this game, because I think if Colorado protects Shedeur Sanders, I don't know how UCF stops this offense, honestly. But if they get after Shedeur Sanders, that's how UCF could win this game.
I like that a lot. And Baylor got a lot of pressure on him last week. But Dave Aranda's known as a guy who messes around a lot and messes with the blitzes and coming from different angles, right? And if UCF's not going to do that and you make their offensive line's life a little bit easier, it's even something we talked about all the way back to the North Dakota State game where it's like, look, this team runs a stunt like every play, right? And they're making life hard on an offensive line that's trying to gel, right? And there are stretches of games. I thought in the first half against Baylor last week, I thought they were pretty good. It started breaking down in the second half as the game got wild, but I thought they were pretty good. It comes and goes to me. It looks like they have that thing. Almost like the college football game, the meter with the crowd pulse. Yeah. It almost looks like it works on their offensive line a little bit, where it's like they go through stretches where it's like, man, okay, this team is rolling on offense. And then there's other stretches where it's like every play, like, what are we doing? But I'm with you. If UCF doesn't find a pass rush, that's the case in any Colorado game. If you don't find a pass rush,
they can be anyone.
Good luck.
They could literally be anyone.
I'm kind of in the boat that I think Shedeur is the best quarterback in the country.
He might be. Honestly, I don't think there's there are very good secondaries in college football, but if you don't get after Shedeur Sanders, I think he could pick apart almost any secondary in the country. I think he sees the field better than any quarterback in the country. Agreed.
And that's just if he gets time to see the field. And he can improv. He can improv a lot too. Last week he had over 70 rushing yards. It was. I mean, some of the plays that he took off and ran were some of the biggest
excluding
plays.
Sacks, by the way.
Excluding sacks. Take the sacks out. But those were some of the biggest plays in the game last week. And there were moments where, again, I think the combination of those two things of their run defense and of Shedeur just being Shedeur, that's what won him the game last week, and that's what they have to ride.
Dawn, Colorado, I don't know if you saw this. They're 14.5-point underdogs in this game. That does not seem right to me.
Not a fan of that.
Do you think Colorado just pulls off the outright upset, what would be one of the biggest upsets of the whole weekend, or do you think UCF kind of shows Colorado where they are in the Big 12?
I will admit this is a really gutsy take. I have Colorado 38 and UCF 34. It's a gutsy take, but I think, first of all, that spread's too wide. I think it's too wide considering what we've seen UCF do. They got 2 easy wins, and they had their own miracle win against TCU, who has proven not great. Right? We just saw what happened against at SMU, and I think they gave up 66 points in that game. They had a miracle win of their own. I really think these are 2 teams on relatively even ground, and because it's UCF and because they're leading the nation in rushing yards, I think people are still looking at Colorado like it's last year's defense. I don't know how improved yet, because now they're playing a team like this. That's a real test in the run game with Harvey and Boone and KJ Jefferson. This is a real test for Colorado's run defense. If they pass it, though, we start having other conversations. So I'm taking Colorado. What I think is that it can be good enough, and if this game becomes about the quarterbacks, and if UCF doesn't get to the passer, and maybe if neither team – here's the thing. Let's say neither team has a pass rush, because Colorado hasn't found the pass rush yet. Which one do you have more faith in?
Colorado.
Right.
Yeah.
So unless UCF gets in a spot where, like Nebraska, they're running the ball extremely well early, and they get ahead, and then Shedeur with the pick 6, and that game before we blinked was 21-0, right? And Nebraska's defense is better than UCF's, so they were going to hold that. Unless if Colorado can get through the first quarter, I absolutely think they can win this game. I just think UCF, they have yet to prove consistently, because I think Jefferson's only thrown the ball 51 times through 3 games. It's somewhere around there. It's like he's not even throwing the ball 20 times a game. If they can make it Shedeur versus Jefferson, Colorado's going to win. And I'm going to take I know this is a gambling pick, but I don't think it should be a 14-point spread. I understand it's at UCF and the bounce house is going to be wild for this game especially, right? But I think there's real improvement in the run defense. I think it gives them a chance to win. As long as they have a chance to win in those last 5 minutes, we've seen it with Shedeur. I think he's the best quarterback in the country. I think he'll make it happen. A high-scoring game, it will not look pretty on either side on defense, I don't think. But I think if it comes down to the quarterbacks, give me Colorado.
Don, you are taking, just to let you know, you're taking a plus 455 money line in this one.
I don't think it should be that wide. If you told me UCF by like 5 or 6, fine. I don't think it should be 14.
You're taking a plus 455 money line. I am also.
We should have left this out and gone with the upset pick.
Dawn, I'm also taking plus 455 money line. I'm with you. The PFF College Football Show is riding Colorado this week.
We are gambling. We're riverboat gambling today.
We're riverboat Ron right now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking Colorado 33-30. I think, listen, the run game scares me a little bit because, yes, they haven't played the hardest competition yet, but I do think the improvement is real. And I don't know if the sports books have really seen that right now. So I think that's kind of a blind spot for them is Colorado run D. And unless KJ Jefferson all of a sudden becomes the one that we saw a few years ago where he was one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the country, which is totally possible. But unless that happens, I think they can handle the run game enough. Not going to be great, but I think it'll be enough. And then on the other side of the ball, UCF's kind of pretty much radically changed their defensive philosophy if they want to get after Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if that pass rush, maybe it would be good enough to get after him, but they got to blitz more, they got to stunt more, and they don't do that often. So I think Shedeur Sanders, with those weapons, will do enough to pull off a massive upset. Massive upsets. I got Colorado 33-30 in this game.
The 2 fun matchups when Colorado's on defense. You've got Levante Bentley and Nakai Hill-Green against the run game. And then we get Kobe Hudson versus Travis Hunter. That's going to be fun on the outside. We haven't mentioned it. Kobe Hudson is a stud. Kobe Hudson versus Travis Hunter is low-key one of the best matchups of the week. He's really good. He's come in now to that Javon Baker role that he was in last year.
Kind of plays a lot like him, too, a little bit.
He does.
Yeah.
They're just looking for that type of guy to take the top off, right?
Yep.
And Hudson versus Hunter is going to be a fun matchup. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do. I don't really get the 14-point spread thing. I know it's Colorado.
Yeah.
And I know last year...
People love betting against Colorado too. So,
and look, I think last year, UCF would have beat them by 30.
Yeah.
It would be a horrible matchup. But they've done things with this front 7 that makes it not if they give up on the ground, it sounds like a lot, but if they give up like 2 to 250, Colorado's going to win this game. If they give up 400, you can't give up 400.
Yeah.
That's going to be the difference. Is if they win on Sunday, we will come in here and we'll go, okay, they gave up like 230, 240 on the ground to a team that's averaging like 350. I think they have 1,100 rushing yards in 3 games. It's nuts. So if you keep them just keep them under what they usually go for, now you have a shot.
Absolutely. So both Dalton and I are taking the massive underdog to outright win in that game.